This is Ilkley Moor, and behind me you can see the extent of the damage caused by the fire that occurred in August 2006, nearly 18 months ago. And you can see that after the time has elapsed, there's still not a lot of regrowth on large parts of it. And on some of the parts there that were burnt previously still stand out. And those were the bits that we anticipated would come back the quickest, and they haven't. They still look pretty bare. And this point here is where the fire was stopped by the fire service after 8 days, and it started about a mile to the west by the forestry at River Kedge. We lost about 400 acres in the end of moorland. If I'm being generous, somebody accidentally dropped something like a cigarette end, but I suspect that somebody set it deliberately with a box of matches. We had staff on the ground within half an hour or so of it being reported starting, and there was somebody there almost immediately, and it looked like they almost had it under control at one point, but overnight it just got away again, and that was it. Since the fire we've had a training exercise. The fire service were particularly concentrating on the logistics of fighting a moorland fire, how to get all their equipment to site and what equipment they needed, and ways of getting water. That was the main problem in the fire, was getting water to the front of the fire.
The heat from the heather can be extremely hot. Depending on how the moorland's managed, if it's particularly deep heather that's on fire, it can be very arduous fire to fight, and require a lot of turnover of crews because it's so hot and demanding physically on your body, with dehydration, etc. And generally when these fires occur, it's when it's extremely hot anyway. So as well as the heat from the fire, you're dealing with heat from environmental factors as well, just the sunshine and ambient air temperature, which can make it very, very difficult to do.
We've been looking at different ways of getting water onto the moor. One option is inflatable pools that you put up on the moor and then pump water into them from a fire hydrant down in Riddleston, about a mile away. The fire service are also investigating the possibility of having a large pumping system which will pump a lot of water quickly over fairly long distances. Although Ilkley is quite close, it's very difficult access across the top of the moor. We've also got a list of equipment drawn up on a fire plan. The council has equipment, so do landowners, farmers and gamekeepers. Gamekeepers particularly have 8-wheel drive vehicles which will go almost anywhere, which will carry tanks of water and have misting machines on them, which are power washers that will spray a fine mister spray on the front of a fire and put it out. Fire engines don't carry a lot of water, so these devices are pretty important to get to the front of a fire and put it out. As well as burning heather, the fire has also taken out loads of habitat which were ideal for ground nesting birds such as short-eared owls and merlins. The fire destroyed all of this, and it could be a long, long time before they return. In the winter between October and April, we have controlled burning on the moor. We do that to create different age structures amongst the vegetation, because different types of nesting birds like different lengths of vegetation. To set off a controlled fire, we put down a fire front using paraffin. We'll burn an area roughly approximating the size of a football pitch, and then we'll put it out at the end. You have to be very careful of wind direction, which can move suddenly up here, and use natural brakes to make it stop. We usually use either a path or a track, or sometimes a dry stone wall. The main difference in burning in winter and the fire we had in the summer is that the ground underneath the vegetation is wet. So unlike in the summer, the peat doesn't catch fire, it burns the vegetation off the top of the peat. This promotes growth in the heather because seed beds grow faster back from the peat than they do from basal shoots of the plants, which are quite slow to regenerate. Well, from here I think I'll now take you up the moor and we'll look at a patch of heather where we've tried to do some reseeding using brush from another site to try and reinstate the heather growth on the moor. This area is on a bit of a slope and we're concerned about erosion. It's quite rocky around here and the peat is burnt right down to the mineral rock. If we can't get some cover on it, the peat might be blown away or washed away. This is an experimental area here that's been set up by John Lilly, a student at Park Lane College at Horsforth. What he's doing here is to try and determine which experimental technique is best for trying to regenerate heather on the bare bits of the moor that's been burnt away. And he's divided it into 4 squares, and in this square here what he's done is spread this brasher out, which has got lots of seeds. Now that we cut from our moor at Harden and we've brought over and spread it about. On this square here he's going to put down some coconut matting and pin it down and see whether that helps to stabilise the ground and stop it eroding and washing away. In this square here he's bought some heather plants and he's going to plant heather plants all over this square, and on this square, this is the control square, he's going to do nothing on this and just see what comes back on its own. Here we can see an area of peat that's been really burnt down. You can see the depth there, right down to the rocks here, down to the sandy mineral stuff, and it's beginning to get washed away in this gully down the hill. Here's an example of some really old heather. You can see that the plant has collapsed and new growth comes from the basal shoots at the bottom of it, and crowberry is coming up in this case here. That's a very slow process. This lot really needs burning, ready to promote some new growth. This is a good example of a patch that's been burnt. Here we've got the long heather next to the burn, and here we've got regrowth. We've got heather coming back, bilberry coming back, and crowberry here, all together in a little mosaic together with some grass as well. Just what we're looking for. Here's another problem we have on the moor. People have campfires and they leave them burning and they leave hot ashes, and in summer that can set fire to whole large areas of moorland. And things like portable barbecues are very popular now. They get left behind. When they're still hot, they can set fire to heather. Cigarette ends, discarded matches, they can all cause catastrophic fires in the summer. So I'm urging people to take the stuff away with them. If the moor catches fire in the summer and we lose a whole area of moor again, it can take 30 to 50 years to get vegetation to grow back on it again.